Thank you, Deepak and Mary, for sharing your insights and expertise in this area, both in the aspects of how do I get designation, what does it mean, and what are the implications for reimbursement and what I should consider over the next 4 years. I want to start with Mary. Mary, tell our audience how one would efficiently determine if they should pursue breakthrough designation.
Sure, Dave. So, what I would do when looking at your own technology, diagnostic or digital product is I would look at the criteria that FDA has put forth in their guidance for eligible breakthrough device designation products. And so you're going to have to meet the treatment diagnosis of life-threatening or irreversibly debilitating conditions, but also you're going to have to meet one of the 4 criteria that I mentioned. And as I said, it's only one of those criteria. So it either has to represent breakthrough technology or no alternatives exist, but there can be something like your product out there. But if your product offers significant advantages over those alternatives, this may fall into the breakthrough device designation. And again, the device availability has to be in the best interest of patients. And of course, any novel technology or anything that's going to offer a significant advantage over some technology that's out there will put you into the criteria that FDA will consider for breakthrough device designation.
So Mary, would this by de facto put somebody into a de novo process, or would they still be eligible, even getting breakthrough designation, to be able to apply through the 510K process?
There is still, when you look at the guidance document, there is still an availability for traditional 510Ks. What could happen is the technology could fall into an existing classification or product code, but it could represent and it could expand upon the indications for use for that technology, or it could expand upon the patient population. It could be a significant advantage to this technology that's going to be in the best of interest of patients. So breakthrough device designation doesn't automatically put you right into a de novo. You still could fit, a company still could fit in the 510K or the PMA realm.
Great. So would there be any advantage or disadvantage to somebody pursuing this? Talk about the upside or the downside if you were to pursue this, or go ahead and try, as long as you feel that you have the ability to fall under any of those 4 criteria.
Sure. So the upside is, of course, other than what Deepak just spoke about, is that, again, you're going to be able to have a very interactive discussion with FDA during your Q-sub or pre-sub process if you do get the breakthrough device designation. And then I don't think there's any disadvantage to this. I think that, you're going to spend some time in drafting your breakthrough device designation. You're going to make sure that you meet all the criteria that we just talked about. And FDA is going to give it a good consideration. The only thing, if you are rejected for the breakthrough device designation, you can use the information that you've provided and drafted in your breakthrough device designation Q-sub for your eventual pre-sub. And really, there's a lot of advantages to this, but the only, if you do get rejected, it's not the end of the road. It's just going to take a little bit longer for FDA to then review your pre-sub, and you're not going to have those interactive discussions.
Thanks. Lastly, Mary, I appreciate these 4 well-defined criteria. I don't know if it's very specific, with the agency trying to be much more transparent in these days. I'm not sure if we know exactly how somebody has succeeded or not succeeded through those processes and those defined criteria. Is there a strategy somebody should pursue before aligning all of their data and information for breakthrough designation? Or is it just define it if you fall under those criteria and put together your best package and process?
I would say put forth your best package, including information, again, description, a good description, thorough description. I would have a justification and a rationale for why you are going to meet each of the, the first criteria for an eligible device, as well as one of the other 4. Any testing that's been been performed to support your proof of concept, I think is very important as well. So it doesn't take a lot of work to draft this breakthrough device designation. You want to make sure that you are justifying why your technology does meet the criteria that FDA has put forth in their guidance document.
Thank you. I want to switch over to Deepak a little bit now. Deepak, you talked about some of the key considerations that you should be thinking about for the next few years. Obviously, very serious implications about reimbursement here. What would you expect somebody that already fell under this designation and does get reimbursement established, for that to be able to be adjusted over that 4-year period, or that's a waiting period until you are able to make a case for expanded reimbursement?
So let's see, at the end of the 4 years, under the MCIT pathway, the breakthrough device would receive one of the 3 criteria. One is a national coverage determinant, that is affirmative coverage. 2, a non-coverage, that is no national coverage determinant. Or 3, MAC discretion, that is claim by claim determination by local coverages. Now, in the MCIT program, you have at the end of the 4 years those 3 outcomes. Now, for the breakthrough devices to fall under a positive decision of coverage at the end of the 4 years, they need to plan their 4 years of data collection pretty diligently. Because once they have been given coverage, they need to prove that the value that they are adding to the patient outcomes, to the overall decrease in the cost, and for the improvement of the healthcare systems, all those 3 aspects are covered. So it is highly recommended that within those 3 to 4 years, the devices should plan for their health economic and outcome research studies, combined with any clinical investigation that they are planning to do, so as to collect information and keeping CMS in loop of those information. So at end of the 3rd year, when they are by this rule, they had to submit their materials to provide them a coverage determinant for the 4th year. They will have enough information to go back to CMS and defend them. Planning over here, Dave, is key. So once you get a coverage and once you get a breakthrough designation, that's when the clock starts ticking. And you have to plan the first 2 years to 3 years diligently so as to maintain your coverage at the end of 4th year.
I understand where you have to complete that within the 4-year period, but let's try an example. Say a company had a clinical study with a very strong achievement of health economic outcomes that demonstrated significant value. Could they get new reimbursement within the 4-year period, or it's only after the 4-year period that they would be eligible to go back and request new coverage based on their health economics?
Yeah, it is only after the 4 years. At the end of the 3rd year, they have an option if going back to the CMS and present their data. At that point, they can go for a larger coverage to the CMS, or defending whatever they have got today. So there is an opportunity at the end of 3 years when they will be going for those coverage determinations to CMS, asking for additional coding or additional payments. What this law has provided is coverage. This law does not discuss explicitly on codes and payments. So along with the coverage, comes the coding and the payment, that are 3 pillars for the reimbursement. To answer your question, Dave, if a device get a breakthrough designation, after 3 years, they have an opportunity to go in front of the CMS, and either they proclaim that they have added more value as they have been approved for, and go for additional coding and additional coverage for those patients. They have to they have, or they don't able to prove and they will be and the results will not be positive for them, right? They will lose their coverage, or they will have to have local determinants of coverage. So those are the possible outcomes.
If you didn't complete those achievements of demonstrated value throughout that 4-year period, after that, and if you do lose the coverage, can you go back and lobby later on a little bit further down the road and continue to pursue reimbursement?
Yeah, there is always a mechanism in which you can go back, and then it will take you onto a route of another 18 to 24 months, which is a general timeline of interaction with CMS, and that will put you behind by 2 years. But definitely, there is a pathway in which you can go back to the CMS and put your case forward for a code, for a coverage determination, and for a payment.
Oh, thank you, Deepak. While Alira does have a transaction advisory practice, I know this is not entirely within the scope, but most of the companies here are early stage startups and early commercial companies. I should mention that we've seen excellent response from the institutional investors to companies who do get that breakthrough designation. And why is that? Because one of the key milestones for investors are achievement of reimbursement and secured reimbursement. This breakthrough designation with coverage throughout that 4-year period is extremely well responded to by the institutional investors in our experience. And not only that, even those strategics who are looking for acquisitions might be a little bit early for them without that understanding of the path to reimbursement. But this has certainly reduced that barrier. With that, I want to thank both Mary and Deepak. If you have any other questions or comments, on the next slide, Deepak can show our emails, and feel free to reach out to any one of us for further questions. As a sponsor of the MedTech Strategist, we're here to offer guidance and help any one of the companies here in attendance. Thank you very much for listening. And Mary, Deepak, if you have any other closing comments, if not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.